Okay, welcome back to part 2 of the video, and as you can see, La Palma Professional from SimWings. That looks pretty cool. That truck there, and the Cepsa garage, and look at that, even that shop there. There's a moving van there. I mean, that just looks ace. The texturing on the ground looks ace. You know. And here we go, the scenery already is looking better. You know, gone are a lot of trees, granted, you know. Oh, look at that, the building, there's wind turbines on the front there. You got reflective glass built into the textures. Oh my life, that, I mean, this, okay, there's no lot of planes, there's only one plane here I can see. But it's not a busy airport, to be honest. We're going to do a flyover. Now, I got to say, the terrain mesh doesn't look as good as it did, but it's far off into the scenery. And that is yet to load properly. So, to be honest, that's okay. I'm sure if I changed a setting here in my world display for the draw distance, it would just suddenly, you know, I reckon if I did that, that would probably need a second to load the auto-gen scenery now. But I have a feeling that would load in the background just as nice as in the foreground. But there you go. There it is. Just as nice as the foreground. But would the sim be just as smooth? See, I don't know. I mean, yeah. Now that we sort of look over there, it's like, yeah, that looks a lot better. That does, to be honest. That's still bare bones, but that looks a lot better. But what effect did that have on our frames? You know? So, let's get in the old plane and jump in. Now, as with every Aerosoft add-on, when they first plop us down, they put us down on the taxiway, and we have to sort of taxi out, which is a bit more realistic than putting you down straight on the runway. Just for the purposes of the presentational video here, I do prefer the runway, but it's no big difference, no big deal, because when we're actually flying for real, we would be parked, full stop. So there we go. Let's fly down here. Now, I believe we actually took off the other way when we took off. So we were down the bottom end of this runway down here, and we took off coming back on ourselves. So this is basically the opposite way around, I guess. What are my flaps setting? Yeah, that's okay. There we go. Flaps up. So, what does it all look like? Well, the airport's changed considerably, and we're going to do a flyby passover on that in a minute. We want to concern ourselves was getting us back up to sort of 2,000, 3,000 feet to really sort of have a look at the terrain. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a climb up to 3,000 and then come back. I can already tell, though, that this is looking good. My frames are really steady at 30 to 35. I've sort of capped them off to 30. But everything's loading in beautifully, you know. So I might just keep that auto-gen density slider all the way sort of out, you know. I will bring it down when I go to heavily citied areas, because that's when it would really affect, but I think it would be alright here. So what is the water? The water really hasn't changed a lot. I do believe the textures for La Palma would include the water textures, so it probably has been overtaken, but that's no big deal. If I really didn't like them, which I do, I could easily override them by just reinstalling the texture direct ones, so it's no big deal. Buildings now, looking down at the buildings, they are high definition indeed, and they really, I mean, they're okay, you know, they don't really stand out, you know, as anything. They would look more immersive if I had the shadow and the reflections built into them as well, but I don't, because it's kind of pointless, I guess. Down here we've got a nice little, what looks like a marina town, and where the boats come into dock. So that's pretty cool. Right, so we're coming up to 2000. Let's do a turn, and we'll continue to climb, and we'll head back over towards the runway. Now, looking at the textures on the ground here, even at this height of just under 2,000 feet, these look better than the global base did. The Orbex global base textures, I don't feel, had this. They look real. They look like real aerial image footage textures, and global base just didn't really have that for me. I don't know what was going on there, but okay, turn it around. And let's have a look outside the window. So yeah, I mean, to me that looks a lot better than what Orbex Global Base gave us. We have building textures down there that look great, and let's now dive bomb the runway, and I'll have a look at the airport. Now see, that is a massive difference than what we had before. That runway actually comes out to the sea, like it does in real life. It's totally so much better than what we were given before. And I imagine with things at the airport, you know, I mean, they look a lot better than the Rex Airport HD. And as good as that looked from the air, look at this. This looks amazing. This looks absolutely 100% improved than it did before. Look at that. Look at them textures down there. A roundabout there. You've got freeways that extend in the air. Oh my gosh. It's it looks just as good from the air as it did on the ground. Okay, let's come over here, and we're gonna follow the coastline a little bit like we did in the first video when we took off. Now you see, even from here, this looks really nice. This looks really good, you know. The trees, perhaps I would say, probably don't look as good as Terra Flora ones. They're very minute, and there's barely any here, but you know, the textures on the ground look absolutely amazing. These textures here, oh my life, they are truly photoreal, and the mesh that they've included has more smaller details like these things here, that where people would probably have fields of plantation and stuff like that, that the sort of standard one didn't, you know. We need to do a turn here, otherwise we are going to crash. We're going to make it up that mountain. I mean, look just into the distance now. That looks 10 times better than it did before, you know. So, all in all, I would say this is a massive improvement. Look at that. A massive improvement from what we saw earlier in the first part of this video. SimWings has done a great job with this scenery. Totally worth it. So, where are we going to fly next time? Well, I have also the Malaga scenery, Malaga X. And I think it's time we went and browsed over that way and sort of just see what it looks like naturally without Malaga X, and what it looks like with Malaga X. And that's what we'll be doing in the next video. So, until then, captains, keep it flying, and I'll see you in the skies.